RGB here on the I Really Mean It podcast for the episode number 28 here on January the 5th, 2018. We're here in the new year, baby. New year, time to get it cracking, got new things going. Yep, so we're here at Soulfish here at Cooper Young, here on Cooper Street here in Midtown Memphis. I've got my food here. So my guest, she got a chance to go ahead and get started with hers, and she beat me to it. I was busy screwing around getting the show set up, and so I'm gonna eat, and then she'll have a chance to talk. But I'm super excited for those that are listening to the podcast. We're on Facebook Live as we've been for the last couple months. Just super excited to have a great friend of the podcast, Miss Britney Thornton, who's joining us. Again, she is the founder of Juice Orange Mound, and we are just super excited. So, Britney, what's up? How you doing? Welcome to 2018.
Thank you. I want to start off with a couple of shout-outs.
No, please.
First of all, Cecil pricing my salad. I got the dressing on the side, and I didn't eat the bread. Second off, shout out
She gave me the bread.
Delta Deltas out there. Bonche Evans gave me this, so I'm rocking today. And I'm very excited to be back.
Yeah, excellent.
I love it.
Yeah, excellent. So we're going to jump right in with today's content because as you all know, you're aware that Britney gives us great content. And again, she's a great friend of the show. And thank you all for supporting the show all through 2017. And the last episode that we had Britney on, we had a lot of great feedback. A lot of people were really interested and were able to learn about Memphis and specifically about the Orange Mound historical area and the great work that Britney's doing, her and her team in the area. So, Britney, just kind of update us on what's going on. A lot of things in 2017 for Juice. It was a big first year. So, update the audience on kind of what went on.
So Juice was founded on December 6th, 2016. So we celebrated our 1 year, and that was a really big personal accomplishment. You know, like you step out and then to see you still like doing the work that you love so much, that meant a lot to me. And so, Juice, I did not know what it would become, and I'm just so pleased with it, and I'm very excited for 2018. So we've had a lot of highlights. Picked up a lot of people to join Team Juice. So if you're not on Team Juice, you have not liked the page, it's time.
Yeah.
You know, it's been
time.
a year. It's been a year.
There you go.
Well, how much more time do you need?
Yeah.
Did you like the page?
Yeah. Hey, listen, you don't need that much more time. Like she said, you got a year. So go ahead and jump on and make sure you get on the Juice Orange Mound page. Go like it, share content, get involved. That's the only way things change is you got to get involved. Yeah, so excellent. So talk about the 5K run. That was such a big event. I mean, I ran into some of everybody. That was everybody out there.
Yeah.
So talk about how that went.
You know, I'm starting to feel like whenever you come to something that Juice is putting on, you just never know who you'll meet. It's like always worth the chance to just come out. I thought about this because I know Paul was on the episode a couple episodes ago.
Yeah, Paul Young.
He stopped by and graced us with his presence at a Juice meeting.
Yep.
And I just thought that was so cool. Like, shout out to Paul Young. Like,
shout out to Paul.
So personable. Like, you think about student leadership, and I'm always amazed at his generosity and support.
Yeah.
The 5K was awesome. I mean, behind the scenes, it was at one point, it was like 6:45. I was like, is this gonna happen? Like, we hadn't gone into the school. A couple of folks hadn't showed up. It was like amazing. Like at 8 o'clock, I was just in pure amazement. And I can remember seeing the first person cross the finish line.
Yeah.
And first of all, he finished like so quickly. So I was like, dang, like there are people still like starting up, and he's like done.
Really?
So that was
He's a runner.
Yeah, a real runner.
Right.
We had real runners out there, so it was just like no joke. So next year, come on out. If you're looking for a competitive event, you got a medal, got some props. The coolest part was seeing students get involved.
Yeah.
So we had Melrose High School students, the student council shout out to Sarah, Shadia, and Labarius. They're hardworking students and they're very supportive and they're very community service driven. And so it was really cool seeing them get out there, their first 5K. Two of the top earners were from Craigmont with the STS group, Alton, Pryor, and Jeremy.
Yeah, absolutely.
They brought out a bunch of students, and they were amazing.
Oh, really?
So it was just really cool. And I asked them, had they done a 5K before? And they were like, no, this is my first. So just think about that. Their very first 5K was in Orange Mound.
Right. In the historical area. So,
touched me.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Good.
Yeah, I got a chance. Alton and his whole team with STS Enterprise was out there. Shout out to him. I got a chance to meet several, millennial, patrons that participated, and they loved it. I tell you, the feedback that I got was just phenomenal, and what y'all put together, and I know you'll be able to continue to build on it, going forward.
Sometimes I'm like, oh my word, I'm like, Lord, this is gonna grow,
Right.
When I was at the Orange Mound Parade, just seeing where it is, it started off somewhere. I don't know how big the very first parade was, but seeing what it is now, it just gets me so super excited about the 5K. That's going to be a major event for the city.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what's your plans for this year? Anything different, or?
So the 5K will be coming back. We're going to keep it the last Saturday of October. So you can go ahead. I believe that's October 27th. Go ahead, save the date, get ready to come on out. And we're going to continue doing our community projects. So our Juice does 4 community projects. Our first one of the year will be a street banner project. So shout out to PR Sally with the Collective, which is a Black artist group in the city.
Okay.
She's making our street banner designs, and so we should be unveiling those in about 5 days. And so the community is going to get a chance to give us some feedback, let us know that they really like the designs, and then if there's necessary, work that needs to be done, she'll go back and tighten them up, and then we're going to mount them throughout the community. So that'll be our first one. Identity is a really big thing. People from Orange Mound, we have a strong sense of pride for the community, but we want other people to know you're entering into a place that has a lot of pride for itself and welcomes your appreciation of our history. And then after the street banner project, we're partnering with Impact America.
Okay.
And so we're offering free tax services to the community. Orange Mound, as it stands, is an underserved community. So we're hoping to get 600 folks to come out to the Orange Mound Community Center. They'll be posted up Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and even Saturday.
Okay.
Preparing taxes, making sure that people don't fall for these predatory lenders. You see all the lights and the signs and stuff, read the fine print.
Right.
Read the fine print. So we're hoping to help our people make some better financial decisions.
Okay.
And then the beautiful thing is we have room for 2 more projects that we're open. We're open to creative ideas, innovative ideas, and we just want to fund those projects. So we collect the change and we challenge other people to come up with the ideas.
Yeah, there you go. Excellent. So you talked some about the 5K, you talked some about the community projects. So people who may want to volunteer, I know a lot of people are interested in the ability to volunteer, particularly with a great nonprofit. So what's a way they can communicate to, get involved and kind of volunteer with some of these initiatives?
So because of the weather, we don't go out and canvass quarterly. But this year, global warming has shifted things. So I really think next year we can actually do 3 canvases. We're filling out what the calendar will look like. And so I was thinking, people aren't going to want to come out in the cold weather. But it wasn't that bad in December. And so we can get 3 strong canvases out. The canvases are really powerful. And meeting people randomly in the community who are like, when they see me with juice wear on, they're like, you came to my house and collected change, and they're excited. They're asking, when is the next time? They're proud of their contribution, So I just want to do more. I love canvassing.
Yeah.
You want to go canvass right now?
Hey, let's do it. Hey, as soon as we're done, we'll just go canvassing. Now, back in the mound, though, not over here, but back in the mound. Yeah, definitely. So with the tax thing, Britney, how can, when does it start?
So it's going to start the day after MLK Day, and it'll run all the way through, April 14th?
Okay, right after tax day. Yeah. Okay. So definitely make sure that if you're in the Memphis area and you need to get your taxes done, you know how important that is. You know that there's a change in tax law, so you want to make sure that you understand how that impacts you. And so come out, get your taxes prepared for free. It's a great community service there at the Orange Mound Community Center, which is on Park Avenue. So y'all make sure that you do that. Definitely. So, Brittany, I know that you're studying to be an attorney in the law profession. So tell us how that's going. You keep us cracking up with your emails about your test and some different things. So I know it's serious business.
I love school. I could be a professional student. Like, I love school.
Yeah.
And I really, at various points, like throughout, like my first semester, was just like, I'm so happy, like, with the quality of my, like, education at the University of Memphis Law School.
Yeah.
So, huge shout out to my professors. I really feel like I'm getting, like, quality instruction. My classmates are really cool, very interesting. This is my first time going to, like, a public institution.
Yeah.
And so, it being a state, a state school, like, it's just it's a different dynamic. So I'm meeting like a different type of student. So I like the environment.
Yeah.
I'm slowly falling in love with the law,
Okay.
And so we'll see. It's an open book for me.
Yeah. So what's your end game with that? What kind of law do you look to practice once you're done and you got your law degree and you got people like me running up, help me, Brittany, help me. What's your kind of your end game?
So when I was a sophomore at Baylor, I decided I wanted to be mayor of Memphis.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay.
I learned, like, I declared my major in social work.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, what am I going to do with my social work degree? Like,
Right.
It's just like, it's hard to really envision, like, this super successful, like, at the time for me, I was like, oh, I'm just going to work for DHS. Like, it was just it was like I'm going to feel good about the work that I do.
Right.
But it's like, am I really going to get, like, the rewards that I'm, like, wanting to, like, see in my life? And so someone told me that the former mayor of Waco had a social work degree.
Okay.
And it just opened my eyes. So I just said, I'm going to be mayor of Memphis.
There you go.
So it's so fascinating. I keep that in my mind as a goal, like, ahead of me. And so I want to throw my hat in the ring in the political sphere. So without some format coming out soon. So Mayor Strickland graduated from the University of Memphis Law.
He did.
A.C. Wharton too? Or he has a law degree, right?
Yeah, he has a law degree. I don't know if he graduated from Memphis, but yeah, I'm not sure about with A.C. Wharton, but
I guess I'm just
he's an attorney, that's for sure.
I'm grooming myself.
There you go. Are you looking to announce your candidacy coming up for this next election cycle?
Absolutely not. I'm just looking to get through second semester.
Oh, okay. Well, we know. So I'm sitting next to future mayor of Memphis, Britney Thornton, and so I'm looking forward to that and definitely want to support when you decide to do that. So you got to let us know.
What did they say? Shoot for the moon, land in the stars?
Yep, that's it. That's the saying. So this is Jamie Smith saying, are y'all discussing a certain topic? Yeah, we're discussing Britney. Yep. But we will be.
What do you want to talk about?
And Jamie Smith, y'all made her comment. But so let's see. So we've kind of gone through Juice. What are the meetings for Juice for those that want to attend a Juice board meeting and maybe get involved that way? When are the meetings and where are they located?
So traditionally our meetings have been every third Monday. Our next meeting will be next Monday. Hoping to. So it was originally, because our meetings are at Melrose in the cafeteria, wanting to be sensitive to their schedule. So we're going to meet next Monday, January 8th.
Okay.
At the Orange Mound Gallery.
Okay.
And then we'll continue with the third Monday schedule. So our meetings may shift from Melrose to the gallery.
Okay.
Switching things up for the second year.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes at the gallery. And then just follow our page and you'll be able to keep up with where we are.
All right. Yeah. Awesome. Looks like Jamie was just joining, so she was just asking what we were talking about. So keep listening, Jamie. You'll see. So let's talk a little bit, shifting gears a little bit. I know that there was sensitive news that came from Kroger. Kroger's closing 3 stores in the Memphis area, from my understanding. Of the 3, one's in the Southgate area, South Memphis, over on 3rd Street near Belts. And then the other one, which is kind of near and dear to our hearts, is on Lamar, close to Airways, where you have the Kroger that is going to be closing in about 30 days. And I know there's been a lot of back and forth. There's been some contentious conversation that I've seen some online. But, Britney, what are your thoughts on the announcement and, kind of, what you see as a next step for the community, given the impact of something like Kroger that is a fresh food source within that community? What are some of your thoughts?
I feel like, there's just been such a floodgate of emotions that I've had over the past week. Like literally like a week ago, I'm like crying because I'm just thinking about like homelessness and poverty.
Yeah.
Shout out to Miss Stacy at Club Memphis. She opened up her club to receive homeless people, right?
Oh.
So like we look at the immediacy of the issues of the now, but there's so many ongoing issues that are impacting Orange Mound. It's weighty work just being on the ground in Orange Mound all the time, and so this is yet another bomb that's thrown on us. So my immediate reaction was kind of like disbelief. Like Miss Luella told me, and I was like, what? That doesn't make, like I was confused. Like I thought that she had information in error, and then sure enough, I get on social media and I see all like the coverage on it. So the month time period is really off-putting to me. We've been here in the area since 1954.
Right.
And you give us a month to prepare for your exit,
Right.
And then it's just like the irony of a establishment that advertises Kroger Cares, and then you do something like this.
Right.
It makes you just question the good in people, and it's just like who beyond. And I understand, like I'm talking to a lot of people who are just like, well, from the business standpoint, you just have to understand loss. Like it's just you cut the bottom. I think with someone last night, they were like, from the corporate's perspective, the bottom 10%, you just cut it. It's like it's just fat that's easy to cut. And it's just very interesting to be a part of that group. The loss of that Kroger is going to have a great impact. But I think that there is a lot of opportunity, and really, more than likely will be a blessing in disguise. There's a lot of pushes now for Black businesses to take those leaps of establishing themselves, and Orange Mound, being the oldest African American community, could very well turn this for our good. So Howard Eddings says turning lemons to lemonade. So I think that's what you'll see in Orange Mound.
Yeah, and I know that argument is made that from a CEO or CFO perspective, the economics obviously come into play, and so when they review the store, and I think I saw a number somewhere that suggested that they lost somewhere around $6 million. I don't know if that's per store.
That was
over the 3 stores. Okay, so
our location lost the most. It was like $2.5 million.
Yeah. So there wasn't much investment in the infrastructure of those stores.
Right. Let's talk about it.
So that's curious, considering some of the other stores that they have rehabbed or chose to rehab. Those were stores that they didn't make much investment in, if any.
Right.
And so it's interesting then, obviously it's losing money and they have to make an economic decision. But I agree with you. I think there's going to be an opportunity to kind of awaken the community, and hopefully what happens is that there's an economic discussion within the community on how to take ownership of it from Kroger and kind of continue to provide high quality, fresh food within the community. So I'm hoping that's the discussion. But
let's talk about that.
It's going to take planning, and it's going to take some economics.
So when we talk about what the community needs to do, right, you have to think about what Orange Mound is. Orange Mound is a deserted community that is hanging on, right? The people here have been holding out. We now have more renters than homeowners in our community. So it's pretty much a transient community, right?
Right.
I went to a meeting last night. My question, there was a point where I realized, wow, there's a dynamic issue that we're having here, right? Where in times of crisis, the people who are equipped to be like, natural born leaders, people at the table, decision makers, like, strategic thinkers, critical, all these people, they're not living in the community, right?
Right.
And so
that's always been the concern.
yeah, it's a really big issue.
Yeah.
Because when we talk about sustainability, how much of your energy are you willing to continue to devote to this issue, right? It's easy to do it for the one time, but the changes that we need, the connections that we need, the resources that we need those ongoing. We need people to realize that we have an issue and see us all the way through.
Right.
So if, bringing a co-op to this space is like the solution, well, who's going to educate the community leaders on what that actually means, what that looks like, who's going to, contact those people, who's going to, arrange that. These are the questions that I have, and I'm pushing people to think about, because it's not just as easy as, let's put a black business there.
Right.
I hear people saying that, and I'm
right.
just in my mind, I'm like, okay, well, what are the steps to doing that? Who is that black business? Is that actually a quality? Just because it's black business doesn't mean it's quality.
Right.
So,
being black just for black's sake doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, but a lot of people sensationalize it to be like, we just want to be black. And I'm like, oh, well, I actually am about to move into this community. I live in Belton Grove, but I'm going to build my house in Orange Mound. And so that's my fervor. It's like, this is my community that I'm building up. I am actually going to have to live here and go to that grocer. I need it to be something that I actually am proud of and want to go to.
Right, definitely. So, hey, we're going to do something. We're going to keep the conversation going. Make sure you can join on the podcast. Make sure you're listening to the podcast. We're going to go ahead. We're going to sign off of Facebook Live because I want to continue this conversation. So check out the podcast, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, YouTube, all those different places where you can check the podcast out. Make sure you go. I Really Mean It Show podcast. And I'm also going to make an announcement at the end of the show for a revamp that we're going to be doing with this particular show as well. So we're going to go ahead and sign off. Peace to everybody out on Facebook Live, and we'll see you when we see you. So for those listening on the podcast, we just ended the Facebook Live, and we want to continue with Britney Thornton, who's the founder of Juice Orange Mound. And great conversation in terms of the impact of Kroger. Now, I'll share with you some of my thoughts on Kroger, what I heard with it. If I can I do that?
Come on, do it.
You mentioned that store's been there since 1954.
Yeah, so I read, 1954. It was a couple of spots down from its current location, and then it moved into that one, I think, in the 1980s.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So I can remember, growing up in Orange Mound, obviously that was the store that we went to. There was that was kind of a self-sufficient kind of area right there, Lamar and Airways. Because down the street you had Foot Locker and Payless Shoes. So up and down from 240 coming up through that area of Airways and Lamar, you could do just about anything. You could shop. You could get your car worked on. You could, go to church. There were schools. Everything was up and down. We used to walk up and down that street all the time, and that Kroger was right there. It was always a staple. So what I find interesting is, typically when you talk about the economics, you don't wait by the time you get to where you're losing money. It's usually you have a change. Obviously, you have a change in the area, which happened in Orange Mound decades ago. When Orange Mound first began to deteriorate was in the 80s, when you had this huge rush of drugs that came up Lamar. And when that came, it settled in Orange Mound. You had closures of factories and things like that where men could work and make good money. Back in those times, you could go work for Kellogg's, and you could be, say you get promoted to a mid-manager. You could make $60,000 a year for the last 20 years of your career, and then retire and get a pension. So you could support a whole family all $50,000-$60,000 a year back then. So those men, did very well. And so what happened is they had the respect within their home and their community. And because they weren't so economically depressed, they did radical things like fight for rights. That's civil rights came from the fact that you had black business ownership and men who weren't concerned about how they're going to feed their family that night. Right? So because they didn't have those concerns, they could focus their attention on, okay, we're not being treated right in the workplace. We're not being treated right in the restaurant. We're not being seen as equals in school. So they could fight for those kind of things. That fight leaves when the economic depression comes in, drugs, leaders begin to get locked in jail or assassinated, whether it's by the federal government or police or whoever that's involved. And so that's kind of giving you the runway as to what happened in the area. So Kroger has invested millions in stores all around this community. When you go out to other communities with, here in the Memphis area, whether it's Germantown, whether it's Poplar and Highland, that particular store, when it started to deteriorate, what did Kroger do? They tore the whole thing down and rebuilt a whole new store that mimicked Whole Foods of all places. So you can make the investment that's going to be the draw. It's just a matter of, do they have the foresight and belief that they can make that investment and have it pay off for them economically and still pay off for the community. And obviously someone or someones in Kroger didn't make that decision. And so to just go and then just close the store, and like you said, 30 days notice, you start the year off and then you say, okay, in 30 days we're going to vacate. And we're not replacing it with anything. We're just going to leave it. That's what chaps me about it, is the fact that, like you say, I understand the economic. First, my background's in economics. For those that listen to this show, my degree's in business economics. I completely understand how dollars and things like that flow from a business owner standpoint, and Britney understands that too. But that decision would have had to been made over 2017, and to not give the community enough runway to be able to sustain itself. To me, I think that's criminal. That's criminal because at least give some time for the community to be able to rebound, explore options, and help participate in it. Like you said, Kroger Cares is your model, but who do you care about? You care about what? Kroger cares about dollars and cents. Kroger cares about the community, and I'm sure that they do, and I'm sure that their executive team has community in mind. But it can't be at the expense of the economics or the community social economic that creating food deserts does. And you see what happened in Binghamton when they did that. Creates a big gap of a food desert. And so those are the things that really chap me. I would like to have seen come to the community with the economic plan that says, okay, we have problems with shrinkage in this store. That's y'all. And I'm just going to be frank. That's y'all. We're not stealing from ourselves, because their counter argument is going to be, tell your folks to stop robbing the store. Okay. So fair enough. All right. Although there's other aspects that go into that. And I know you want to chime in on that. But that's going to be their argument. Okay, fine. If we're laying all our cards on the table, fine. You have that problem at just about every store. You may have it more at these stores than others, but then how are you coming back and then participating in the education so that people don't have to feel they have to do that, right? You have to be a participant. You have to have the proper security in place, and then you have to be a participant. You know what? I'm going to take care of it. Yeah, I will. We're here at Soulfish, y'all, and she was asking me about my black and catfish, which looks so good. And my fish probably done froze over, but I'm enjoying my conversation with Britney, so I'm not worried about the fish. I've got the great Britney Thornton here with Juice Orange Mound. I'm enjoying my dialogue with her, so I'll catch fish another time. But go ahead, Brittany. What are some of your thoughts to what I said in terms of some of the argument that I'm sure people in economics will make about the community and, obviously in the grocery business where you got tight margins and you have shrinkage where obviously you have theft that takes place. And that's an argument that they'll make. So what are your thoughts about that argument and how that maybe could be countered? Even for going in the future with a new grocer that comes in there that may have that concern of, historically maybe there's high shrinkage or, there's other, social factors that go on in the community that could impact my business, that drive up insurance costs and yada, 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 yada. What's some of your thoughts to that?
I mean, when you were speaking about the workers at Kellogg's and just the lack of stress that providers had during that time so they could advocate, that really resonated with me because that's where I was like a week ago when I was looking at the warming center and the demographic of people that were coming in.
Right.
It was predominantly men. It was men.
Yes, men.
Men. And it was like, I was really taken aback.
Because you know what happened, Brittany? And I remember this at the tail end as a little boy, where men would leave. They would go to Firestone in North Memphis. They would go to Kellogg's. They would go to Brothers. They would go to all kinds of different factories. Those were places. Back then, as a black man, you either owned your own business, you were in the military, and so you had the military benefits, particularly if you were able to do the years and be honorably discharged, and you worked in the factory. They didn't have the opportunity back then to work too much in banking and finance and, a lot of office type of jobs. There wasn't that opportunity. So opportunities were fairly limited. However, because you had those opportunities and they were unionized and things like that, when black men do well, that has the trickle-down effect. It's not Reaganomics and all that kind of stuff from the 80s. It's when you take a black man and he can financially support himself and he can create his identity, he has confidence. When he meets his woman, he instills that confidence and then they build the family structure together, right? When you break that apart, what happens is discord and distrust gets placed, right? When the man, now he's not supporting himself, so now he starts self-medicating, right? And this is just my opinion, my assessment. So he self-medicates with what? Drugs and alcohol. Stress comes into play. How we gonna pay these bills? We got these kids, we got this and that. Some men, in their self-medication, become abrasive, they become abusive, things like that. So when all these things get incorporated, they break the family structure, and then it sets that domino path that we see in the community. That's where you start seeing So the kids see that, they grow up, they may want to do better, but that's instilled in them. That's what they saw, so it's hard to break that. It's hard to break what you're reared into to see. That's difficult. It takes a lot of intervention. And so that's what happened to the community, is when you incorporate those things. And there's a bigger agenda, of course, that went into that, because there were studies done, that if that's where projects came from. There's studies done when they study mice. They study how they socially interact. When you put them in close quarters, they fight against each other. They bicker. They become envious. They become jealous. When you remove cheese, resources become limited. So now they fight against, when every mouse has a piece of cheese, it's okay. But when only one mouse has the cheese and you got 10 others in there that are hungry, what happens? They naturally fight. So that's naturally a mammal instinct. And human beings are no different. And so when you stick human beings and concentrate them in one area and then you remove the resources, that's what happened. And for those that left the community, and I'll be frank with this, and this upsets people, but they're a part of the problem. Those of us that did that are a part of the problem. We may mean well, and it's easy to say, like the cartoons used to say, if I can't beat them, join them, right? It's easy to do that, but we're as guilty as anybody, because those of us that had the wherewithal to fight and things like that, we became weary, right? We got MLK coming up. They killed Dr. King, they killed Malcolm X, they killed Fred Hammond. So everybody that rose up to fight ended up in jail or dead, right? They do that because if you kill the symbol off, you take the head off the snake, the body dies. And that's what started to happen. Then it started to become, we fight against each other. Oh, well, I can move out to the suburbs because I can afford to, and I'll leave the rest of my family here. And then now we've got classism within our race.
Classism piece is a really big one. I feel that because I am a part of the group of people who are choosing to go back.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Like I'm a cream of the crop, token black girl. Like I made it out. And so there's a rightful place for me outside of the community where I'll be more comfortable, more esteemed, more in line with people who are just like me. And so there's like this dynamic of like me, I feel it every day going from the law school, a place of privilege and prestige, and then journeying back into my community.
Right.
It's just like, I think that you really have to do a lot to go between those two different environments. And I think you're absolutely right. I mean, for me, when I moved back, I've been back in Memphis for 4 years now. Teach for America brought me back. So that's how I came back. And I've been community leading since then. I immediately got on the ground to see what was going on and how could I give back to the community that gave me and made me. And so one thing I've noticed is just we have needs, we need expertise. There's such a drought of that. And the people who are currently leading, when you talk about weariness, there is, I look at them and from time to time, literally, physically, they feel the impact. I think about LaTanya Blankenship at Melrose High School, and she continues to be the family support person, the liaison for the school with the parents of students who are recent graduates who are shot down, and I think that she's had to go and walk families through 3 different deaths over the course of the semester. Think about that.
Oh, yeah.
Think about that. It's a lot. It's a lot going on. Kroger is not, the biggest thing happening in Orange Mound.
Of course not.
For me, it's the education system. That is very alarming to me because Melrose is the crux of the community. They go hand in hand. And so Melrose right now is struggling with enrollment. And I know that at the end of this fight of enrollment, it's going to be a closure, right? It's you continue to show a decline, they're going to say, there's no upturn here, or, and so that concerns me. So if there are any, passionate folks who are in the city of Memphis, we need a recruitment team. If you want to talk about volunteering, I think that you can go up to the school, ask for Principal Neal, say, hey, I want to help with, establish a recruitment team for Melrose, a retention team, there's need for that because with the decline in enrollment, he's constantly having to give up positions. He can't make the hires. People want all the programming. Well, you need the students.
Right, you need students. Right, exactly.
And we have a middle school that's a part of a whole different district. So he said there were 88th graders who were from the community who could have enrolled in Melrose as 9th graders, but they chose to go to other schools because that's what they're groomed to be. Go to better schools. You are better, right?
Right.
25 of them transitioned into the school. The money didn't follow them.
Wow.
You see what I'm saying?
Wow.
Stuff like that. That's what I go to sleep thinking about at night. I'm like, wow, this is a lot. And I'm such a big impact person. I've never really wanted to do small impact things.
Yeah.
My degree in social work is a macro degree. I didn't want to ever just sit down one-on-one with clients. I want to work on systems. And so I'm constantly trying to think about, even with Juice, where can we get the most bang for our buck? What can we do that is going to have, a ripple effect in the lives of people? And just hearing you speak, I'm like, wow, families, we need to work on reestablishing our families.
Yeah.
Looking at those men coming in and being so dejected, so out of it. Like, I mean, they were just barely hanging on. Like, that was a lot. And something else, I mean, my background is in criminal justice. I worked in the Philadelphia prison system as a reentry social worker. So I was helping people get out of jail. Sitting around with the district attorney, Byron Carter's office. Like, it was a beautiful, like, interdisciplinary like, approach. And so, criminal justice is something that I'm very passionate about. And a lot of the homeless people that came in were convicted felons. I was surprised to see that they didn't have knowledge about whether or not they could vote. Yeah. We had a voting station at the Warming Center. And I was also surprised to see that the advocates who thought to bring that service to the people didn't know if they could vote. So there's a lot of misinformation, and that's what I'm talking about, expertise. Like, just because you moved out, even if you have found, your comfortable space outside the community, what can you do to bring you back to the community? Whether it be once a week, whether it be, you joining a board, like that type of thing is like invaluable at this point. Because I'm on multiple boards and organizations in Orange Mound, and we need more people. We need accountants. We need lawyers. We need businessmen. We need the savviness of the people who have left the community. Like, the community gets in an uproar when people of a different persuasion come in. It doesn't, at this point, we just need someone, and so there are a lot of African American prominent people who left the community, and I know can come back in some capacity. This is really, it's a plea, because especially for the time that we're going into, we're going to need to be mobilized. We need to advocate for ourselves, not just for our health and wellness, but also for our financial wellness, for our like educational, wellness, like our spiritual wellness, like there's a lot going on. So I would think that there's not a single area of passion that someone can have that Orange Mound doesn't have a need for. Like,
exactly.
You are passionate about economics, I tell you, brother, there's a place for you to come back to Orange Mound and to give your passion to the community.
Yeah, absolutely.
And of course, ideally, we would love to have you back. And I know that there's some plans in the making for you to come back, which I'm very excited about. We just need, Orange Mound prides itself on being a self-sufficient community. And so I think that it's very timely that it's MLK 50, that we're about to celebrate, and Kroger shuts down. And there's this spirit in Orange Mound. So I'm very excited. Another thing, let me just put a plug in. I should have done this on the Facebook Live. Bethel Grove leaders, Bethel Grove community leaders, where are you? Who are you? I've not met a Bethel Grove community leader.
Is there one?
And that's what I'm saying. Like, if someone knows someone who's doing anything
in Bethel Grove
that is like organizing in Bethel Grove, I want to hear from them. So connect us, because at the meeting that I was at last night, which was an immediate response meeting to the Kroger closing, I asked that question and not a single person raised their hand. This Kroger, I live in Bethel Grove. That's my neighborhood Kroger, and I go there. Bethel Grove, Orange Mound, Glenview. There was like no one from Bethel Grove. There was a community leader at the meeting. There was one or two Glenview folks. And then there were, naturally, because it was at Mount Pisgah, there were about 8 to 10 Orange Mound community leaders. People that I see on a regular basis. I see weekly these people at meetings.
Right.
So that was very telling to me. It's like the people who are in the trenches, right? Like most of the people here are not people who are doing on the ground work. So we talk about reaching someone who walks to that Kroger, and when I asked that question, I said, "Who here walks to this Kroger?" Nobody. I mean,
Nobody.
I think it was one or two people that said that they actually that's how they have walked to that Kroger.
Yeah.
And so it's like privilege. When you talk about classism, it's like it's a real thing, and it's like I need Black intellectuals to start talking about this, because before our divide was just race. We were pretty much on the same level, right?
Right.
Of course, we're mindful of each other. We want to help each other out. You think about the Montgomery bus boycott, and it's like, of course, we would all chip in because we're all like, disenfranchised along the same lines. Well, now we have race and class coming together, and it's like creating whole new categories. It's like I have people, and so I mean, I can go on and on about this because Juice's part is to reach current residents. So some of those transient folks, some of those like senior citizens, like we want to reach people who are living in the community.
Right.
Because our whole thing is we don't want to displace poor black people. What we want to do is develop poor black people. We want to get them to that middle class status by working with them, doing like some real progressive work, because we've seen the push model. It's like push.
Exactly.
And that's a whole other thing. We also, black intellectuals, need to start talking about how we don't need to be pushed to the outskirts of this terrain, because that's going to be a very dangerous place for us to be. It's easier for you not to care about poor people on the outskirts, and so we need to stay by and hold the land that other people clearly have a lot of interest in. They have an interest in it because it's valuable land. Like being inside the 240 loop, I would say, if you're living in a 240 loop, you need to start trying to figure out how to buy your property.
Yeah. No.
It's so much.
Yeah, it is so much. But you touched on something and we both touched on something, Brittany, that's critical, is that you've got to find a way to get involved, and you've got to bring your expertise back to the community. Not to just look for economic gain for yourself, but to look for opportunities that you can give back. And that's a message that should resonate with all of us. And it doesn't matter how you look or whether you grew up in the community or not yourself, or you don't have to you don't have to have grown up in Orange Mound to support Orange Mound. You don't even have to be from Memphis. But if you're here and you see a need, then what is referred to as the oldest African American community, support self-sufficient African American community in this country. It should resonate with all of us. And so definitely great words of encouragement. I did want to go back because I never got your thought on Kroger in terms of that argument. What would you say to that argument of people, of Kroger leadership that might say, we're part of the reason we're closing these stores is because we had issues with shrinkage?
Let me just tell you this. I love to be around nice things. When I walk into a school building, I don't want it to be dingy and dirty, and you expect me to bring my creative juices. When you go into any innovative space, the ambiance of the space is going to match the level of innovation that you expect to see, right?
Exactly.
So when you go into a Kroger, that, as I'm told, I've been hearing all type of crazy stuff. Everything is just extra at this point. So I'm told that our Kroger would get like hand-me-down meats from the other Kroger, like crazy stuff like that. And so, but the thing is, there have been a number of health code-related issues like that have been documented at that Kroger. The caliber of the Kroger was clearly, not even on a similar like scale as the one on Union. Like you went to one on Union, it's like
another one they invested in.
Yeah,
they tore it down and built a whole new one.
And I mean, people would like to. I think that people who like disregard this conversation are going to say, "Oh, people are just pitting it to be a black-white thing." Well, Kroger said that the nearest Kroger for our residents is that one on Union. That's the one that they listed. So that's why I use that comparison. Also, I'll go back to that. So the quality of the Kroger was so low, I don't think that the buy-in was there. Think about it. If you're working, and I know I have a couple of friends who are childhood friends who work there, and they openly talk about, their disdain for being like they have no loyalty to Kroger. Most of the time you think, oh, like I have a sense of pride for my employer, like I enjoy, representing the franchise that I'm a part. Like you just have pride. There's no pride. And I see it. So what's going to stop you when someone wants, slide me that? Do that. You don't care. Like you see somebody doing something. Why am I going to sacrifice my life to stop you from doing that? I don't care. There's no protective spirit for the company. And so I think that when you go into the Kroger on Union, people, because they're in a place where they feel prideful to be there, like they have a sense of ownership of that space. Of course, now I'm patrolling. Now I am, an extension of the security system, the security guard, because this is my space to protect. And I don't think that was there at that Kroger when it comes to specific things about theft. And despite what people say, it's not it wasn't a Kroger where if you're going into it, you're gonna get shot or something.
Oh no, yeah, that'd be ridiculous.
People want to paint it out to be like the worst, but their losses, I think, are due to a reason. I also think that it cited that the $2 million plus amount of losses started in 2014 when they documented it as like a loss since 2014.
Right.
Now, I don't know what their model is. I'm sure that they have some type of outreach, director or something like that. But if you know that your Kroger is in the oldest African American community in the city of Memphis and has an esteem about itself, Obama's wife, Michelle Obama, labeled it as a preserve America community. Like, this isn't just some rinky-dink community, right? Even though you can tell that it's a poor community, there's something here.
Right.
There has to have been someone who thought we're losing at a rapid rate. I know that the trajectory is we're going to close this store down, right?
Right.
But that's like the business practice. At what point would it be that you would reach out, a development corporation, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're going to leave. We know that this is going to impact the community, but we want to work with you.
Right.
That's a Kroger Care move for me. And it's just like the 1 month thing. Like, come on now. If we were told as community leaders, and I've been here 2014, I was here in Memphis.
Right.
If we were told that they were going to leave when they actually, had vision to leave, and they actually value community leaders, you can't tell me that the passionate people about the stability of the community would not rally around Kroger to be like, hey, we're going to help you with whatever you need. Whether
right.
it's there would have been some type of support.
No, I agree with that, because if you ended 2014, like you said, and you suffered a loss, you lost $2 million at the end of 2014.
No, it was like since 2014.
Oh, since 2014. But the first time you would have, or not the first time, but let's just say you post a loss in 2014.
Right.
So you look at the books and you say, oh, wait a minute, this store lost money.
Right.
Okay. Now, it's probably not the only store, but if this particular store lost money, and it's in the community, I agree. I would think that, as a leader, you would go to the community and say, okay, we're seeing a decline in this store. You know how you see the charts with business,
exactly.
and the red arrow starts pointing down.
Right.
All right. So then you say, okay, the trend for this store is not going in the right direction. All right. So internally, you have a meeting with your team and you say, what do we need to do about this? This store is losing money. Let's get somebody from the experts that you hire and pay money to, right? That are sitting right there that you pay six-figure money to. So you got that. Then you say, let's go to the community because we're having problems with this, and this. And it don't even have to be a problem. It could just be, we're going to go to the community because we've got a problem.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And the community can maybe help us with that particular problem. And so that's where you go and you have your town hall. You invite the community out and say, what would you like to see in this community? Here's what we're having happen. Here's what we recommend. We're losing money because shopping volume is down.
Right.
We're losing money because we're experiencing a high level of shrinkage at this store. Revenue is down because traffic's lower on Lamar because whatever the reasons are, right? How can the community help us? Then that's when you get the minds together at that point that could say, hey, Mr. or Miss Kroger, we can help do this. If you're having problems with shrinkage, here's what we'll do. You employ the security. We're going to set up the function. You can donate to us, your complete tax write-off, but we've got the infrastructure to begin training, and look at jobs training and things like that, because they're not stealing for no reason. They're stealing because, they may feel that they have to. And then to your point, if you leave the store looking ridiculous,
there's no buy-in.
Then what you're telling us is you don't care if we do it anyway. Right? Because you're stealing.
And when your security guard looks like your uncle.
Right.
When you go over on Union, it's like a buff guy. Like, he's like a real,
it's no different than your house, right? If someone comes over to your house and you leave it a mess, and you throw paper on the floor and your shoes all over the place, well, guess what's going to happen when I come over? If I come over to your house and it's like that, I'm not going to have no problem throwing paper on stuff all over the floor. But if I come over and your house is clean, it smells nice, and it's in order, and I know whatever I do, if I drop a napkin on the floor, that's going to stand out. Right? Because, and then someone's going to say something to me, particularly you. Hey, get that up off my floor.
Don't you see how clean this place is?
Exactly.
This is what we do.
So that would be the other message, that's where I agree too, is that if you walk in the store and you've made the investment to make it look nice, that deters people coming in trying to feel like they're just going to take from it because you've made the investment into it.
Right.
So that's the analogy I would use.
I love it. I mean, yeah, it's not smart.
Yeah.
I mean, definitely for Kroger, I'm hopeful that we'll wake up Cincinnati with our response.
Yeah.
We have a month to give them hell, Rydell.
Right.
Grease is my favorite movie, so I got that from Grease.
Yep, I know it.
Yeah, no, it's
So-
something serious. I mean, going back to the class race dynamics, like Mom Peaches was talking last night about the Poor People's Campaign.
Uh-huh.
When I was in Philadelphia, that's where I first heard about the Poor People's Campaign that was active in the area. You know, I just kind of disregarded it. I'm like, oh, they were just so like radical and just like it was a different type of person. But it's very true. Like there's a need for us to rally behind poor people. Like it seems counterintuitive because you have it doesn't affect you. You know, I'm okay. I have some luxuries in life, but poor people, like that's a real marginalized group. And I mean, it's not just poor black. I mean, poor whites showed out in this last election. You know, like poor people, there's a need for us to integrate. So it's like poor people don't have the privilege of running into like wealthy spaces and planning and being accepted. Mm-hmm. But you see all the time, wealthy people can come into poor spaces and dominate. And that's a whole different thing. That'll have to be part 3 because that right there, since I moved back, that privilege and people who choose to exploit poor people, poverty is big business.
Oh, it's huge business in this town and around this country. It is.
But we need to talk about it. Because there needs to be some bulldogs in place that can vet these people that are coming in. I'm telling you, it's serious.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So we're here with Britney Thornton, who is the founder of Juice Orange Mound. I hope that everybody's enjoyed this particular conversation. Make sure that you get involved. Juice Orange Mound on Facebook. Make sure you like the page, share the page with about 10 people today, and make sure that you get involved. Look at ways to get involved. Britney, any final thoughts or anything else you want to cover before we get out of here? And
definitely come out to a juice meeting if you haven't. You never know who you'll meet. And then check out the Too Far Support Lamar event page on the juice page. That's a way that we're trying to corral people for whatever our next action steps are. The community has met and has voiced like the direction that we want to go, and so there'll be some more calls of action here soon. So especially if you are a patron of the Kroger or Union, we're gonna need your support. This isn't just them over there. Like we're gonna need to hear more from our allies and supporters outside of the community.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep, absolutely. So thank you so much, Britney. We're so glad to have you come and be a part of the show again. So glad that things are going well. We're looking forward to great things with Juice Orange Mound on 2018 and beyond, and great things in Orange Mound. So just to kind of wrap up the show, on January the 19th, I will be completely revamping this show. It will no longer be called the I Really Mean It podcast. It's going to be the Minding Your Business podcast. And same great content, but we're going to have a little bit different name and a little bit different look. And January 19th is my 37th birthday. So we're starting with that on my birthday on Friday the 19th, which is in 2 weeks. So look forward to that. I've already been sharing the graphic and that kind of thing. Got great feedback. I appreciate everybody's support. But we want to continue to evolve. We want to continue to improve. This show will be a beacon. I want to be able to come and broadcast from the Juice Orange Mound meeting here at some point soon. And we're mobile. We're here at Soulfish. So we're not in the studio. As Britney said, she's issued a challenge. We want to be out in the community, out supporting. And so this show won't be just sitting in some squishy, what am I thinking? Studio, right? We're not going to sit in some squishy studio way out somewhere in the outskirts. We're right here in the community. We want to make sure that people have a voice, and not just a voice, but that we can help institute change by not just being involved, but then being active. So Thank you again, Brittany. We all appreciate what you bring to the table. Britney Thornton, y'all. And we'll talk to you again soon. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next time. Peace.